expertise. That doesn't mean that I'm an expert, super expert, like what Alice said. We are all here. I joined this program a year and a half ago. I'm also a women tech makers. I have about 15 years of experience in the industry, but my background is totally non-tech. I came from a food and nutrition background, then I moved into tech. I worked in a lot of different places, and then currently I am building stuff on my own. And something about me is I love coffee. So you can find me if you just are. I live in the Bay Area, California. If you're around that area, please let's meet. Let's connect. And every slide will have my LinkedIn handle at the top right, and I'll also post my QR code at the end, right? So with that said, anybody use any AI tools? Everybody, right? Everybody uses this. Anything looks familiar here? No GPT. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, no GPT is you take a Google video, and if it's already with closed caption, it will summarize you. It'll give you a mind map, and it's free. That's one thing. And then Devin AI is something that you can build websites with it. Don't try it. I tried it a few months back. It did not work that well. But then I don't know if they might have made some improvements around that space. Everybody, how many of you do generate this AI images? It's all over in TikTok, and oh yeah. And then who uses Instagram? Oh, almost everybody. Facebook, WhatsApp. You would see Llama in there. If you see, it has Facebook's AI too. Then you have Gemini. That's what we are going to be talking about. And then ChatGPT. There's also, I miss Claude. Certain things are good at Claude AI too. So that's something. These are the tools we all use, and or we are at least familiar with, right? Now, this agenda is I have only 45 minutes for this. So I split it out in two parts. So first, I just wanted to go through basic concepts for 15 minutes. Then for the next 30 minutes or so, we'll try to code along. Otherwise, if there's time crunch, if I'm not able to be, I won't be able to type in each line of the code. But I have code labs where you can follow. I have instructions, or I will be walking through each line of code and then explaining you. And basically, if we have the time, we can do that. Otherwise, I will probably end up copy-pasting them. And you still will have access to those code labs, though. And you can try it once you go from here, take the QR code with you, and try it on your own. Just for now, just keep, just pay attention and get through these concepts. So we'll talk about introduction of Angular, the core concepts, and we'll talk about Gemini API and what can you do with it or how it can be used. And then the code along that's what I wanted to do, but then the time crunches. Let's see if we can. So I assume that some of you have built here with at least a website with vanilla JavaScript. And then you also must have heard about Node, Node.js, or anybody taking computer science classes for freshmen? No, I'm not going to be talking about OOPS concepts like classes and constructors, et cetera. But if you have them, then that's good. Otherwise, the code lab has every single one of them have each and detailed explanations too. So if you know TypeScript, it's nice to have. TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. I also have an article around it. I wrote it a couple of years ago, but it still stands true. So with that said, we'll just get started. Angular is an open source framework that's been around for over a decade, and it's maintained and developed by Google, and you can write using TypeScript language, and it's mainly built for single-page applications, so where it can update your pages dynamically, and that way your web applications become interactive too, right? So we'll talk about the essentials. And we'll talk about how do you install Angular to begin with, Angular CLI, and then what is the architecture behind it, and then the core concepts as well. So all these steps are there on the code labs too, but then to begin with, first you need to have Node installed in your, you don't have to take pictures. All these slides will be passed on to you. Don't take pictures. There's a QR, the organizer should be sending out, I've already submitted them. So save your memory on your phone. So yeah, first off, you should have Node.js installed. Once you have Node installed, the very first thing that you would do is you need to get the command line interface of Angular. So the moment you say npm install, and G is for the global option here, which you can, or without it also it will work. And when you say Angular/CLI, it will pick the latest one. If you want a specific version, you can go back to it. It says, for example, if I want Angular 16, but now we have the latest one is 18. There is a difference between 16 and 18, so make sure that there's a subtle difference as how you organize your code. The latest one has a little bit of changes, so I'll be using only the latest one. But if you see a project with a little difference on the project folder, note that it's just that you have to look through the older documents there. So once you have installed Angular, you can create an app saying ng. Anything that starts with ng is Angular, okay? ng new, and then you give it app name, and this is the app name, and then once you have it, cd into it. And what do you do? This is how you see. At the bottom, you'll see this is how the folder structure would look like, and here's your TypeScript configuration files. Why do you need it? When you install Angular, it comes with it. So understand that the browser does not know TypeScript, so it only understands JavaScript. So you're writing your code in TypeScript. For that to get converted and the browser understand it, these are the configuration that Angular gives you to get it converted to JavaScript, right? So let's take a deeper look into the src folder, the source folder, which has at the bottom, I'll start with the entry point, which is any program starts with a main function. So this is the entry point of your application. And on the top, you will have, OK, that was too quick. So the index.html has this particular HTML tag, which is called as app root. This is the one that connects to all the components, right? So this is the root of your application. And then at the top, if you see the one that is pointing out up there, the component.html is where for every, we'll talk about what is a component and all. So understand that this is a folder structure here. And then whatever, if you want to globally add any configuration, then why is this thing not showing up there? Oh, yeah, it is there. It is there in the app configuration. So little bit of history. I'm not going to bore you with so much of details. Understand that Angular has different parts to it. One is a component, and then you have a template, which interacts with the component, and then you have directive, module, and injector. So to give you a very naive analogy, think of Angular application as your house, right? And each room would be a component. And the furnitures and decorations that you do are your template, right? That's where your template will be. Those are there. And then if you have a supplies room where you have to go fetch something, right? That's where injector comes in. So, and then you have modules. Modules are like a blueprint of your house. And there are some special tools if you want to decorate your homes with custom blind. Yesterday I was staying at a hotel where you have to press the button so that the blind moves, right? This is a special tool. That's the directive that goes, oh, sorry. That's the decorative here. So those are special kind of tools that you would use it along, with your application. And we'll see that in a moment. So big analogy, like I said, components are like your rooms, and then templates, directives are like furnitures and custom stuff that's there. And the injector is your supply room. Whenever you want something, you'll go fetch it. So, but it's still there in your house, right? And modules is a blueprint of your house. So this is a very simple application. This is Delta's website. All the Google pages that you see, are all built by Angular. If you go to madewithangular.com, you will see a lot of pictures a lot of applications that are mentioned there are built with Angular. So here, if you see at the top, there's a top section, the header section, that would be a component, and then the middle section would be a component. Rest of them are all. Understand that these are puzzle pieces put together. So components are basic building blocks of UI, and it defines the class that holds the application's logic and data. So like I said, it's a puzzle piece you're putting together. That would be a component. And so how would you define it? So you use this decorator, component decorator class, and then inside it you use these properties. So when you say selector app root, it gets everything that is from the root of the application. You can select what are the things that you want, but then here it happens to be this. But you can give what are the selector that you want to have. And then every component will have style. It will have its own URL. If you build JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, every time you have a HTML, you have a CSS, and then you have JavaScript, right? So imagine that these are like mini vanilla JavaScript applications together. And you also have imports. Imports are if you want something to import a library from outside or use their methods from it, you would use it. Here, we will be using forms and a router. We will be using forms for sure, and then a common module from Angular, from where we can see how we can use the chatbot will have a form where it can take the input. So that's about, and you have to specify this. And this is the change that Angular 18 has come up with. So you don't have to every single time specify what you want in certain things. Earlier, the configuration was a little different, but go through the, it's for the old previous versions. But this one, it is very, very, it's for performance specific reasons. You don't have to keep rendering the same thing, right? So understand that every component will have a selector, a template URL, and a style URL too. So another concept of Angular, right? Angular supports two-way data binding. So when I say two-way data binding, Angular was inspired by model view controller architecture. So it does not directly use it, but it was inspired by it. So they have their own. Here, data binding happens in two ways. That means from your component, it'll go to your view, and then it can go back as well. Okay. Now, like I said, data binding is two-way. How do you do that? You can use it through various properties that you set. So here I've used, this is an example for interpolation, where the username gets added by the user and it's listed. And if you see here, email is also a property that you can use it. Then the other one is going to be, for example, we will be using the event. If you click on a button, it does something, right? For example, we will be clicking the button, send button to Gemini, and it'll fetch the data. So event binding happens, and then there's also two-way binding. We'll talk about NG model, what it does in a moment, right? This is how data binding works. So how the app talks to your front end, and also if you are using JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, you add HTML, and if you want interactivity, you obviously write something in your JavaScript code, right? So similar, very same concept here, but it's just that if you see, the name here is, because it's TypeScript, TypeScript uses typed language, so it says name as a string. And then here, if you see inside it, when the user enters the name, ng model takes the name, and then it displays it here as a paragraph tag. So now, let's see what is ng model, like directives are. Directives in Angular are special elements that I said already. And there are two types of directives. One is an attribute directive. The other one is a structured directive, which we will be talking in a moment. If you see here, this is a structured directive. Anything that starts with star here, so this is a structured directive. What it does here is it takes the list of languages, right? It lets the user add the list here, and then it loops through it with using ng4, right? We'll be using we'll be using ng4 in the chat box that we are building. So understand that this is there. And here the structure directive does not change the structure of the DOM, but it's just, it takes it and loops through the whole variable here. The next one is, these are the basic structure. We'll be using both of them. If you want to use ng4 or ngif, if you want to show an element or hide an element, we'll use this ngif, and then for is like looping through stuff. And like I said, it starts with asterisks. Now moving on to attribute directive. Attribute directive are type of directive that modifies the appearance or behavior of an element, element, component, or another directive too. So here, when you add an app toggle attribute to this element, it becomes clickable. So when it becomes clickable, when you do this particular this particular decorator listens to those clicks, and then based on it says toggle here, whether the toggle button is being called, whether it's highlighted or it's enabled or disabled is there. So this is an attribute. We'll also be using, not this one, but we'll be using an attribute directive too. Okay, now the last part of it is the service one. Service, like I said, I talked about injectable, the supply room, remember? Here, if you want to fetch something from the supply room, you would use injectable. So here we'll be using a server-side. If you want to make a server-side call to Gemini, then we'll be using injectable, right? So here it says provided in root. That means that indicates that the service should be available throughout our entire application. So once you have it, I talked about all these things, but then when you create an app, and then when you do ng-serve, this is the first page that you'll look in Angular. So now switching gears, moving on to AI. We are all making some use of AI in some way. It is a science of making things smart that can perform a lot of things without our human intervention. And just to give you a relationship, we're not going to go deep into it, but then understand that AI is a larger set. It makes things easier. And then machine learning is where you write the algorithm, train those models, and then so that AI can use it. We're not going to understand that deep learning is also a part of this. Then, let's talk about Gemini capabilities. Who has used Gemini? Cool. What do you like about it? What do you use it for?
Research. I want to start using it to do some stuff programmatically, but I've been using it for an assistant primarily.
Okay. So you can do some kind of text generation. It also uses multi-modeling understanding in the sense that you can add a voice. Oh, by the way, anybody uses, I think iPhone, the App Store just released the Gemini application. I just saw that. Yes. I downloaded it 2 days ago. I was like, oh, is this thing there? So, and the best part of it is you can record it, but it reads back to you. That's what I don't like about it. It doesn't keep quiet, it reads back to you. But you can also add pictures, right? You can say that there are a lot of times that if I look into some code, I take a screenshot of it, I just put it in there, I said, okay, what is this? I'm trying to learn machine learning. If I don't understand, I just copy paste it or just take a screenshot and put it, and then it gives me a good explanation of that too. So language translation, anybody has tried with different language? Oh, it's fun. I tried it using, I said that, okay, what does this mean in my language, right? The language that I speak. I was trying to basically understand a word in English. I don't know what does it mean, so sometimes it gets hard. So I immediately, oh, so what's that thing? So content generation, it makes and if I have to write a professional email without any spelling errors, this does a good job. Of course, LinkedIn posts, whatever you want to, right? So it can also be used for other purposes too. You can use it for education, not just saying that. And of course, the research, like you said. And yeah, looks familiar? Right? So now, scan this thing to, if you don't have to use this, but then scan this to get your API key. We'll be using this. The reason why I'm saying this is I'll also have it inside my code labs, but scan this to keep it handy. What you do is I don't want to take too much of time, just go there, click, boom, couple of clicks, boom, boom, and then it'll give you an API key. This is using a free model of Gemini. If you want advanced ones, you can try the paid ones. I don't use that, so I have not tried with the paid ones, but feel free to use that. But the concept is the same, where you use the API key, and then you use different models too, for text generation and whatnot. So first thing, do not put your API key in GitHub. I did this last night, unknowingly, while I was asleep. So it's like I was trying to do the code labs, I was trying to push it, it's still there. Please don't misuse it. I would delete this right after this talk, but then this is something. So this is what we basically covered today so far. Just giving you visuals, now getting started. What is Angular? We learned about the components. Data mining, directives, talked about dependency injection, that is the service that I was talking about. And then we briefly touched upon this. Now, this is the app that we are going to build. I named it my own, so it's AngGem. This is the code lab that I was talking about. Please scan this. And if this lets me do it. Okay. Oh, shit, no. Sorry. Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, no, that's nothing. That's with the Web AI event, AI Summit that I went, where they gave me a lot of information about how do you build this thing. Okay. Where's my, oh my God. I don't have I'm trying to find my glasses. I don't know where I left it. Oh, yeah, here it is. Cool. I'm sorry. Oh, code. This. Yeah, one more. Just give me a minute. See, I put it as, can you see, hopefully? Hang on. Okay. Did you get that? Okay. So this is a code lab that I created. It gives you a step-by-step instructions of what you have to do. And how far are we? We have 20 minutes. I think I'm almost on time. So I talked about all these setup stuff already. This is what we'll be building. Come on, load. Okay, no, it's the Wi-Fi here. And okay, by the way, when you're generating stuff, if your Wi-Fi, I was trying to, when I was trying to test last night, I had problems with the hotel Wi-Fi, so things were not generating. Luckily, I had taken this video before at home, so it works. So I put it as a GIF here. This is what we'll be building. You can go back and then probably do more. I added basic stuff like a header one, and you give a prompt, it'll give you a result, and it's also scrollable. There's a couple of things on the footer okay, first time, this is a little smaller. I don't know how to make it big, but then you all have access to this. So first time when you do this, the instructions are given here. This is how we talked about all these things already. So I would strongly suggest go jump into the next one. This is how we'll build our layout. So if I can, sorry, I just have to make the screen. It's very hard to see here. I'm trying, so please bear with me. If you cannot see it on this clearly, please look into your laptops because I can see myself here. So even the text here is too small for me. First off, if you can, I created this project already. I ran all those commands. I have this. And one thing I added to this was a search folder with the logo. The logo is given to you on the code lab. You can add to it, but make sure that the path is right, okay? And okay, here is let's look at it together. So here is the header that we have and the main content. Inside the main content, I have this hang on the body. Shoot. I'm sorry?
I said that's all JavaScript?
No, this is HTML. This is the app. I'm sorry?
Oh, no.
This is app. This is inside this. OK, let me show you this folder, if that makes sense. So like I said, if you have to have a component, you need to have three things, right? One is the HTML, the other one is the style, and the other one is your TypeScript file. So this is where it is. I've created, you can create multiple components. Now don't get me wrong, you can create multiple components, and then for interactivity, you can do a lot more, but that gets a little advanced for this session. But I'm trying to see if you can see it. So, but everything is there inside this. If you go back to this, I talked about, this is what it is. So in this, this is what I'm talking about, app.component.html inside of our source folder. If you go here, the basic layout of the HTML is like this. You have the header. So if I can do this. You have header, and inside the header there's body, and then inside the body you have main. And inside the main is what all our stuff is there. So this is the chat history. That means that we have to, this is where we are also using those directives that I talked about. If you see here, we're using ng4. That means that it gets all the previous history, and it is iterating to it too, right? And then we are using ng class here. ng class basically it is a attribute directive here. And what happens with that, it changes the appearance. For example, if the user types in, and then it takes both of them. But make sure that it's, this is how it's laid out. And then we are also using another structured directive, which is the, not structural, the attribute directive that is inner HTML, which is what that formats the text that Gemini gives you. So I've not done a good job on formatting, I'll admit that, but you can do the formatting and make it beautiful. There is a couple of things here. I'm using ngIf here for a loading icon, like a loading indicator. You'll see it in the app where it says that a loading text with ... So this one is, why are we using ngIf? We'll see that in a moment in the TypeScript file. And also, I've also added a couple of these things. So when we, here the input takes these properties. We are calling the send data method from our component.ts file, and we are placing inside this text, if you see here, let's see. if I can serve it. I think I already did. So this is where it says Ask Gemini, right? This is the placeholder prompt, and then this is ng model uses, again, it is a attribute directive that we are using, and then it gets a prompt from the user, and it sends to Gemini. So, and then when you click on send button, it is sent, there is send data that is sent to our component file, component.ts. So, okay, I am going to be, where are we? This is where I talked about, and you can read through all these things, so in here. And if there are some, I see that there are some rendering issues with this particular tool. I'll try to fix this. Finally, whatever, I think there's some, this particular tool that makes the code labs is from Google. And these days, they don't take those tags very well, those HTML tags. So I tried to put in, OK, now I'm not going to be talking styling. So you can copy paste the entire styling as how it looks like this. You have a header, you have this thingy. I'm not going to be talking about this, but then I've also made sure that you can, if you want to change the color of this or change the button color, whatever you want to do it, you can do that with that. So here is, this is what I wanted to show a little bit. So if you see here on my component .ts file, I've used, like I said, we are importing a lot of these modules from Angular core, and we are also using one from Gemini, if you see here, right? And then, like I said, components, you will have all these templates inside it. And note that I have a squiggly line around it. It's a warning from VS Code, not with my Angular code. I messed up something with my ESLint. So it is showing that, but it's a warning. So if you set up your VS Code properly, because I do a different, I switch around stuff, so this is because of that. So once you have your component, then this is how it's structured. So if you see here, we'll be talking about how we define a component, how is your component created, and then how is Gemini injected towards it, and how is Gemini a get chat message history from Gemini happens here. So if we go to, let's talk about this part. So this is the class that we are exporting. Inside this class, if you see, there are 4 properties inside this. This is your title of your application, and the prompt is set to string, and it's currently empty. That's how you will see a blank thing at the bottom, right? And then you're setting the loading. You can make it a little fancier. You can have the loading spinner, but I just made it very simple. It's having loading text alone. I've set it as Boolean. It is false. It does not have to show because nothing is generating, right? And then chat history, every chat history is all inside this as an array. And we are injecting the Gemini service inside. We are injecting the Gemini service here. And then the constructor, what it does is, here the get message history method takes it, and then Gemini uses this method, and it acts as an observable. Observable is a design pattern. It is mainly used for data streaming and for asynchronous options. So what it does is, I can give you a very silly analogy, I would say. So think of Gemini history, this get history. What it does is it's like a tab. You open it, and then that emits observable. And then when you want to save this thing, or when you want to place it inside a container, that's where subscribe comes as. So subscribe is something that holds the observable. So once it's there, Gemini sends the response, and it pushes to the chat history variable. So as you can see, and if you also see, where are we right now? We are at, first off, we define the component, and then we define the component class properties. Then We are fetching the past conversation here using this constructor, or this is what the constructor does. And then if you go to sending the message, this is where I'm saying that I have a couple of things that I'm checking. If the prompt is blank and there's no loading, right, then, if it is, then the loading is set to true. And then whatever prompt is given by the user, right, it is stored inside the data, and the prompt is clear. It becomes blank here, right? And then what Gemini does it uses this method called generate text. From the data, whatever input, your prompt that you are given is taken by this method, and Gemini uses this. And once it starts generating, loading gets false. So that means that the text that shows up, if I show you, that will make sense. So if I say, what is Flutter SDK? Oh, don't try to ask what is Gemini. It'll give you some crap. You have to specify what is Google Gemini. So I hope it works. So it is loading now. This is set to true now, right? This is what. But now it is automatically set to false because this is empty. That's what this send data method does. And this is what the formatting that I was talking about. If you inspect this, it will, where's the console? I hope it says, okay, inside the console, if you see, okay. It is all very well laid out if you see inside the console, but my text generated that is generated here, it's not very well formatted. But you can just go ahead, and I just replaced it with stars, asterisks, and spaces here. This is what our component, app component does. Now, what do we have to do? This is, we have done till now, but we have to connect it. Oh yeah, this is the entire code app. You can use this image to put it inside your HTML, tag as an image tag, and then make sure that you put it inside the SRC. I think I mentioned here somewhere. Make sure, yeah, I mentioned here. So make sure asset folder is inside of your SRC folder. So this is up until now. And then now the last step is to connect to Gemini. So inside Gemini, if you see, like I said, how do you generate this key? Boom, boom, boom. First time if you're doing, this will give you this you have to accept those terms and conditions. Thanks. So you generate the key. It'll do this, and then you just have to copy paste, right? And then what is this particular service does? First, we have a constructor that initializes the GenAI with the API key that we are going to be using, and then make sure that the API key, if you know how to do it, put it in a file where it is not uploaded, environment.env file. That's what it is. I did not do it. I have to admit, I put the whole thing in here, but you cannot see it, but I'm just telling you. So in this, again, we are using, I wanted to mention about this. We are using this is from Angular Core, injectable, the service that I said already. This is from Google, Generative AI, and this is RxJS. RxJS is a third-party library that Angular extensively uses mainly for sending data, for any request that you have to send in through. So Angular uses this third-party library, which we will be using it here as well. So I just wanted to make sure that, okay. First, we are using the service here. Hang on. So we did the import, and then the service definition is here, where we say that, okay, give everything that is there, and use everything for injected throughout the application. That's what it means. And then here we are defining the class again, and this class takes 2 properties here, the private one, right? 2 properties and a constructor. And if you see here, one is it is going to use your particular API key, right? So that's why it's private. And then the messages, whatever the history is, that you're going to, you can add a authorization to this chatbot, making sure that it's only available for signed-in user. In that case, this would come handy. All the chat history can be like how we have it in Gemini. So again, behavior subject is coming from RxJS. It is also an observable that can stream data from Gemini. And here, this is where I'm using the service. I'm not going to show you my key. So we are taking the key and making sure that we are using it inside our class. Now, let's go here. Where's this thing? Okay, next, how do we generate the text, right? Inside, generate text takes a prompt, only a string. And then this get generative model from generative AI uses this particular model, right? It uses Gemini Pro. And what it does is basically it uses this model and generates the text and then adds up to the history here, right? And also the results are generated based on the prompt that you give. And finally, what are we doing? And then the message history is also there. And this particular last part of it, hang on, there's this thing. I can't see anything with this. I can see the, okay. So the get history function is also an observable here, where you're able to get all the history from Gemini, so it is already there. I have only 4 minutes left. This is what we did, and I know that it's a lot to take on this 45 minutes, but every section of this will have explanation more than what I said. So this is how the app looks when it's empty, but then if you add prompts, it'll get, and then it'll show you. So this is the end of it, but take this and probably go build it on your own with your own API key. And also, I just wanted to, before I have something to show. Come on, go back. Oh, geez. Is this it? Okay, that's easy. Cool. And the code is also pushed into my GitHub. I will probably remove it because I put my API key accidentally. That's OK. I will remove my API key, though. So once again, thank you. My name is Deepa. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I am very active only around that space. I know it's a lot to take in within 45 minutes, and I try to make it as much as possible with this. Please go through the code labs. And thank you. Oh, yeah, sorry. And I would also be speaking, anybody is around till 5 o'clock today? I will be speaking about TensorFlow, if you're interested. TensorFlow and how it can be, you can create your own models, or how, it's a cool stuff. So that said, thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions, please. Oh, I also wanted to let you know that there is I forgot to put it. There is a Code Labs by Mark Thompson. He is from Google Angular team. He has also built something using Vertex AI. And go look for Code Labs, Angular Code Labs, which was recently done a month ago. And you can use, and make sure that if you can use a different model, 1, and 2, you can generate your own application as well. He has said how to use, how to use it for a full stack application. So go check it out if you have. I'm sorry?
What was it called?
It's called Code Labs. Try to check with Angular. Go to Angular YouTube channel. You will definitely find it, and it's from Mark Thompson. He's a Angular DevRel, right, Janet? Yeah, he's a DevRel, Angular DevRel, and he walks you through exactly what I did, but then he is going very slow. But he had about 3 hours of time. So go watch that if you want to use a different model, and that'll give you a different perspective. But this is a very basic one. I hope it helped. And that's about it. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, if you have now, that'll be great. If you have later, hey, just give me a minute. I would love to take a picture, please, for the records.